All right, welcome back everyone. This is Courtney with Little Black Homes on the Prairie, and today we are going to talk fact or fiction about homeschoolers. So sit down and let's jump on in. All right, guys, today we are going to talk about homeschoolers. So I can say without a doubt, people have preconceived notions about homeschoolers. Some of them are absolutely true. Some of these things, though, are absolutely false. So, as someone who is homeschooling now and as someone who was homeschooled, I think that I can speak on this topic with some type of authority. Okay, you could decide to agree with me or disagree with me, but let's jump on in. Okay, myth number one. We're gonna kind of do this like Mythbusters. I don't know if you ever saw that show. It probably isn't on anymore, but the guys have this myth and then they try to bust it to see if it's true or not. So this is kind of like Mythbuster style. So here we go. Myth number one. Homeschoolers are weird. I don't know. That's a hard one because I think that there's a lot of people who are just odd in general. Now, are there more people choosing to homeschool because they're odd? I don't know. I can say that I have met individuals, both in the homeschool world and not in the homeschool world, who I think a little quirky. All right, have a couple differences about them, but overall, they're kind people. Maybe just a little bit smarter, or maybe they're a little bit more into their hobbies than others. But I don't think that homeschoolers in general are weird. All right. Okay, myth number two. All homeschoolers are religious. That's absolutely not true. People homeschool for different people homeschool for different reasons. Now, we are Christians, but we're not homeschoolers because we're Christians. I know people who homeschool who have no religious affiliation at all. I think that at the core, people homeschool because they think that they're able to do something that the school system isn't able to do. And that could be provide the type of spiritual support that they think their children need. It could be that academically they don't think that their school district is sound. I know people have pulled their children out of school because they were bullied and they just felt that socially their children weren't thriving. People homeschool because they move a lot, and so they think it's just easier if we're just stay together versus putting them in different school districts all the time, like military families. I think after 2020 or during 2020, a lot of people were able to see what type of school quality, maybe that's what I'm looking for, their kids had, even though I don't think that virtual school is a direct reflection of what happens in the classroom. I think that virtual school is very, very hard for teachers, as it would be for anyone getting used to. But I do think a lot of people heard the kind of conversations that were happening during virtual school and seeing the work that their children were doing. They were saying, oh, I think I can do this at home. So I think that's another reason why some people homeschool. Third, homeschool kids are really smart. That absolutely is not true, okay? I don't think that kids who are homeschooled are any smarter than kids who are not. I have met people who are homeschooled who were, I guess, geniuses. Like I could think of a 9-year-old who was doing algebra and calculus, but that was one kid in all of the people I've met that was that smart. And then in high school, I can think of a person who got like a perfect on the SAT. So you know what I'm saying? I don't think that necessarily kids who are homeschooled are smart. I think that sometimes they are more not celebrated, but maybe they're just more noticed when they're homeschooled. And so you're thinking, oh, this kid is smart because they're homeschooled. So yeah, I don't think that because someone's homeschooled, that means that they're smart. I can tell you that I'm an example. I'm not a genius. I was homeschooled. And I know a lot of people who are homeschooled who went on to have average or above average jobs, but they are not geniuses by any means. Their IQ score is average. So I don't think that kids who are homeschooled are smarter than kids who go to school. I do think that being homeschooled allows you to depending on the type of homeschooler you are, but it affords the opportunity to see what a child's interests are and maybe work on those things more. If you see that a child is more interested in math, or maybe they're stronger in literature, or they have a great mind for remembering history facts, a homeschool parent might be able to say, you know what, we're going to focus more on this area because we have freedom to do those things. So maybe that person is able to thrive in a certain area. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're smarter than any other person going to a public or private school. They just had the freedom to study and to really dive into the thing that interests them. So maybe it appears that they're smarter, but I don't think that homeschoolers on average are smarter than any other kids. Homeschoolers wear skirts that go down to their ankles. Oh, so let's talk about this. I grew up in a fundamentalist homeschool environment. However, that was just some of our curriculum was fundamentalist. Let me be clear about that. So we did not have to wear skirts and dresses at home. We wore them to church, but not at home. But the curriculum that we used was written by individuals who were like fundamentalist Baptists. So we used Ron Staff, we used Becca, and that's about straight-laced as you can get when it comes to the homeschool world. However, when it came to social studies, history, my mom did a lot of maybe unschooling or deschooling. She put a lot of things together herself. She used a lot of living books because she saw the holes and the gaps in the perspective that the curriculums were written from. And so I would say that, yeah, you could be in a fundamentalist, like partially fundamentalist. And so, yes. No, you've only been asleep for about 45 minutes. Where was I? Okay. The skirts. So we did not have to wear the skirts. Now, I had friends who did wear skirts and dresses, even when we were like playing outside. I did know people like that, but we weren't like that. My mom wasn't like that. And all homeschoolers are definitely not like that. I think, once again, we can get this stereotype where we see maybe a large family that happens to be homeschoolers, and they happen to wear the dresses, or the boys are kind of wearing like matching pants, I don't know, overalls. I'm just trying to think of like the most stereotypical outfit I would see them in, and then we think, oh, that's how all homeschoolers are, and that's not true. And there's nothing wrong with wearing skirts or dresses. I'm not getting down on those people. I'm just saying we weren't those people, but I do know who you're talking about when you think about like a homeschooler, which is something that people really looked at us weirdly when we'd be maybe at the grocery store in the middle of the day, and cashiers were like, oh, you guys out of school today? And like, no, we're homeschooled. And you could just see the look on their face, like puzzled. Like, really? You're homeschooled? Because you're Black. That's weird. And you're dressed like me, so how could you be homeschooled? Like, you could see it all over their face. And so I understand, like, the stereotype is a homeschooler might look a certain way, but it's not true. It's absolutely not true. The last thing is that homeschoolers go to college early. Now, I think this kind of goes along with homeschoolers are smarter, but here's the deal. When you think about a traditional school setting, if you have 24 kids in a classroom, one teacher, and then this is how it is for 12 or 13 years, right? Like, you're in this system. Then you think about a homeschool setting where like maybe someone has 4 or 5 kids per one teacher. You have 1 to 5 versus 1 to 24. You can get a whole lot more done with 1 to 5, right? Like, the ratios just make sense. You have a smaller class size. You're able to do more individualized learning. If someone is thriving in a certain area, you just push through that certain area. If they're struggling in a certain area, you can slow down. It pretty much evens out to, yeah, you do maybe graduate earlier from high school because you just didn't have to waste time with so many electives. There's no passing period. You know, you don't have to take all these extra classes. You can just focus on things that, depending on your state, you can focus on the things that you want to get through. You can do school year round. You don't have to wait for summer school or wait till a class is available during a certain semester. You can just do it whenever. So yeah, once again, I had friends who graduated early, or maybe their junior and senior year of high school. They also were taking classes at a community college, so that when they graduated from high school, they were already technically like a junior or sometimes a sophomore in college, because they had already taken so many credits, which you can do in traditional school too. You can take college credits. You can take like what's it called? You can take college credit courses, right? Yeah, I did some of those. And so I think it's a myth that the homeschool kids go to college earlier. But I will say this, I do think the homeschool kids have more time on their hands. If you ever go to Chick-fil-A in the middle of the day and you're like, how is this teenager working? 16, 17, it's noon. What are they doing here? They might be a homeschooler, so you never know. That was my version of Mythbusters, homeschool version. If you have some more myths you want me to bust, put it in the comments below or send me an email. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.